He's the director of research over at the Government Accountability Institute. Seamus Bruner, back on the program. Seamus, what'd I miss? $1 billion. Walls covered it up. The Somalians that are in office there in Minnesota and Minneapolis helped organize it. And then they bought fancy crap for themselves and sent hundreds of millions back over to Somalia. This was COVID-19 money. So that means it's federal. That means it was your money, Seamus, my money, everybody's money.
Yeah, you didn't miss much there, Dan. This is a brazen scheme of staggering proportions. That's what the federal prosecutors are calling it. I think that's putting it mildly. Shipping it off overseas makes it even worse. But I think probably the real buried lead here is that Tim Walz, yes, he tried to cover it up. Why? Because Somalians are a key voting bloc for Democrats. And so I think this reveals the entire invasion plan all along has been to import key voting blocs for the Democrats, big voting blocks all across the country. Then you give them as much of taxpayer money as you can to buy their votes. And when anybody asks questions about it, you try to shut it down because that's how desperate they are.
Sounds more like the Red-Green Alliance you all keep reading about and talking about, right? You bring these socialist, Marxist liberals together with crazy Islamic radicals and put them in the right key places, keep electing liberals or themselves into office, like in Dearborn, Michigan, or in Minnesota, right, in Minneapolis, and forget the American way of life. In 5-10 years, we look way different, Seamus, if we keep allowing this crap to happen.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And here's the thing. This is how bad it was. The New York Times even is reporting on it. And they're putting, all kinds of experts talking about, well, this is just the way Somalians are. They have a widespread, looting problem in their countries, a kleptocracy. And so when the New York Times is telling you that when you import millions of people from countries that have just rampant corruption, you can't really expect anything else.
Right.
So
like Somalia.
It's a really bad situation.
I mean, the president's been trash talking Somalia all weekend after we learned about this scandal. Matter of fact, here, put some headlines up. President Trump now terminating all protected status for Somalians in Minnesota. That's one thing he did. Also, he says he'll be canceling all of Joe Biden's auto pen signatures that helped any of these Somalians. And the final one, a lot of this money that didn't just stay here in Minnesota and enrich liberal Democrats went over to Somalia. And here's the key, Al-Shabab, which Al-Shabab, last time I checked, is a massive Muslim terror group. And they sent our taxpayers taxpayer dollars over to that terror group in Somalia. I'll give you the final word on this disgusting revelation that we allowed $1 billion to be blown by radical liberals in the state of Minnesota, primarily on Somalians in another country.
Yeah, I mean, this reminds me, back in 2018, one of the first reports I worked on with Schweizer was called, we titled it EB Terrorism, and it was all about how the EBT program and the SNAP program are riddled with not just fraud, but money that goes to terrorists. The Boston bombers were getting money. And when you talk about the types of attacks that these terrorists commit, I mean, 9/11, experts say, only cost around $450,000. That's not much. $1 billion could easily buy that, obviously. But then just like pressure cookers or renting the U-Haul vans like they do for parades and Christmas markets, that's not a lot of money. So when your tax dollars are not just being wasted and frauded and abused, but actually going to fund extremist activities, it's time to wake up. It's time to shut these programs down, at least for these kinds of activities.
Amen. And I'll say it and wrap you up. Send them home. Revoke the status, send them home. Ilhan Omar, if you lied on your paperwork to get here, throw her out of Congress, send her home. That mayor, everybody in Minnesota and Minneapolis in general, send them all home. If your status is questionable and you got here somehow on fraudulent information and now you've been ripping us off, go back to that third world hole that you call a home, as President Trump called it. Sorry for the profanity, but that's what these countries are. Seamus Bruner, thank you, brother, for coming on and keeping it real. Appreciate you.